Hi everyone, welcome back to Brownlow Books. I'm Charlotte, and literally last night I read Echo of Silence by, Rhonda Jolley. Full disclosure, I got this from the publisher via Goodreads in exchange for an honest review. Pretty sure this is already published. Think I'm behind on my advanced readers' copies to the point that they're no longer advanced. It happens, we're in a pandemic. Cool your shit. So, this book, Echo of Silence. I want to start off by saying I didn't look up any ratings, reviews, anything for this before I started. I picked it up because it was pretty short. I figured I could knock it out real fast, and the back didn't really let me know what I was going in for. So, I'm going to read you the back. From the outside, Victoria Campbell has everything. She is accomplished, wealthy young professional living in the big city who has reached her career goals and is on track to break the glass ceiling. But under all this seeming success lies a haunted past that has kept her from opening herself up to most people, and especially from the men she meets. Will the ghosts of her past continue to haunt her, or can she exorcise them in exchange for real happiness? The answer to this question becomes clearer, as such answers often do, on a trip home to visit family and friends. Things are different in Texas, and Victoria's long overdue homecoming with her new boyfriend in tow shines a light on the reality of their relationship and resurrects painful memories of dangers that can be lurking in plain sight. So, from that, you kind of get your average, like, oh, something maybe happened when she was younger and she ran away, maybe her best friend died, maybe her boyfriend died, maybe she got raped, maybe, tragic family something happened, right? And it is so much worse than that. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna have like a little family drama or something. That's not what this is. This book needs massive trigger warnings. To the point that I went on to doesthedogdie.com and entered this book because that's how badly this needs those triggers listed for people who might have them. So, what I'm going to say about it is if your professor hits on you, you're gonna have a bad time. So, I don't want to spoil the entire story from you, because I actually did enjoy reading it despite it being kind of horrible. Like, bad shit happens. Do I just like reading about bad shit? Okay, so lots of bad stuff happens. It is in 2 different time periods, so it's current, big successful job in Boston, and it's 19 years ago when she was 19. I don't know if it was freshman or sophomore year of university, college, whatever you want to call it in America. Because those two things mean different things in Canada. So, shit happens when she's in college with a professor. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details of that because it ruins the entire story for you if you know this shit beforehand. And she starts dating a coworker now, which also doesn't end great. If you date a coworker, you're gonna have a bad time. So that's what I will say in terms of the actual plot of this book, is that it is very dark, it is very triggering, it is one of those books. So, on to the actual review of the book. As I said, I enjoyed reading it despite it being kind of horrible. The writing is a little more simplistic. This is her first novel, and I believe Rhonda was a lawyer. It says in the back what she is. It's got discussion questions and everything. So, it's her first foray into writing a novel. And it is a good first foray into it. Like, give her props. It's very simplistic in its writing, but that's exactly the kind of thing that this story needs. It's almost like it's being told to you from someone, not like an overly stylized thing you're writing where it's like, oh, this is what this looks like, and this is how this is, and it felt like this, and it's just like, this is how I felt at that time, this is what happened with me. You know, it's a little simple, but it's exactly what it needs. Like I said, it's not very long. It's like, I don't think it's 200 pages. They scroll through things. Yeah, 173 for the actual story. So, I mean, I knocked it out in about 3 hours last night. I had to stop to make dinner. So yeah, it's a good read. It's a horrifying read, but it's a good read. The things that I'm upset with it are really minor, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But the things that are happening in the book, so she's 19 the first time, and then it says 19 years later, so I presume she's like 38-ish. And so the things that are happening when she's 38, to me, don't really sound like things that a 38-year-old would put up with. But I guess, you know, she's got that massive dark trauma that we were talking about earlier. So I guess that plays into it. I mean, I'm 36, and I'm like, I wouldn't put up with that shit. Like, but it's obviously, her trauma is different than mine. It's obviously what it is. It happens. Everyone's got their own. So that was one of my big things about it, was kind of like, would this really be happening at a 38-year-old? I could see it happening maybe like 10, 12 years later, maybe not 19. My other thing, when she's in Texas visiting her family, her sister-in-law has just had a baby, and is on her mat leave. But she had the baby 8 months ago. And so she's a teacher, I looked it up. I looked this up, this is how curious I was, because it threw me off when I was reading it, that 8-month mat leave still. I looked up how long a teacher in Texas generally gets for mat leave, and it is up to 12 weeks. So being 8 months on her mat leave, I was just kind of like, it just took me out, because I know you guys don't have that. If this was a Canadian book, that wouldn't throw me at all. We get a fucking year. So it threw me a little bit reading that, just like the tiny inconsistency of, is that really how it is down there? Okay. So yeah, those were the kind of really minor things that threw me off about this story. I mean, it's really good for a first novel. You know, some people, it's like the first novel, it's like, yeah, okay, this is good, or it's like out of the park. This is like somewhere in between where I'm like, you did a really good fucking job. But at the same time, it's like not a hugely fantastic piece of writing, if that makes sense. That doesn't make sense. We're gonna go with it. So, I enjoyed the horribleness of it. I enjoyed how it started. I enjoyed the middle. I enjoyed the end. It was great for me. I'm giving it 4 stars. I enjoyed it a lot. Husband's watching me from around the corner. Don't forget to like and subscribe.